Barepipe community, Barepipe here. Time for part 2 of the Stanwell Shape 70 that was designed by Sixten Ivarsson. And where we left off last time, I had just finished doing the brass cold casting work on it in the kintsugi tradition. And now I'm going to show you how I sand it down and complete that, how I stain a pipe, and how I complete the stem work on it. So let's get on with it. We're back and it's time to check in and see how our pipe is doing. The super glue on the stem is now all hard and set, so that's ready to be sanded off. We're going to put that aside for a second, and then we're going to focus here on the cold cast brass powder, which is now hard as rock, and it's been sitting for a week, so it's pretty much solid. Now, just to remind everybody what I'm using Smooth On's brass powder. This is a 325 mesh pure brass powder, and this is used in cold casting. So if you've watched the previous video, you will have seen how I combine that with super glue to get it to this point. Now we're going to start sanding this off, and as you can see, there's quite a bit that needs to be sanded off. To make it faster for myself, I'm going to use my Dremel to do that. You can do it by hand as well. Okay, time to move on to this 600. Now what will happen is, as I start working through the different grits, this will start going shinier and shinier. And what's important now is, as I work through the finer grits, is that I actually make sure I get the geometry completely even. So I'll be working on the top as a whole, not just on that one little piece. There we go, that's how I'm going to do this one. Okay, now let's have a look at this this logo. I don't think that there's much there that I can do, actually. It's incredibly shallow. So shallow that I don't think I can actually address it, because there's no depth there for anything to stick. Okay, just going to put this on the buffer. Next step is to get this guy stained. So I'm going to do the same contrast stain that I've done on the other Stanwell pipes, which was a mixture of medium brown and black as the base coat, and a mixture of light brown and yellow as the top. So the first step you want to do when you do this is to soak the bowl in alcohol. The reason you do that is because you need to warm it up. And that's really important to do because you open up the pores of the wood. The next step is then to coat this with the stain while it's nice and warm, because that allows the stain to penetrate nicely. And don't worry with the base stain of having it perfectly even, because you're going to sand most of this off anyway. And don't worry about going over the kintsugi cold cast either, because it doesn't stick to it. It wipes off pretty quickly. And you can see that it dries off pretty quickly because the wood's warm. And we'll just let the last bit just burn off. There we go. Now, what you want to do is to wipe off any of the excess stain. With some isopropyl alcohol. Let's see. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to sand it down with some 600 grit paper. And this is the reason why, not the only reason, but part of the reason why I don't take the kintsugi too far in the beginning. There are two reasons for it. One is that if you polish your wood up to the point where it's actually burnished, you actually can't get the stain to stick very well, which is a problem. And the other one, the reason is you're just going to be taking it back down anyway, because you got to sand down the stain you've put on. Now the next coat that I'm going to do on this is very, very light. And I'm going to use the light brown Okay, that was too much. I'm going to full 5. And yellow. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1/3 mid brown, 2/3 yellow. And a lot of dilution. I'm also going to put a little bit here on the Now I'm going to dilute this quite a bit. I don't even count how much, I'm just eyeballing that. Okay, another coat of the tan mix, which is not pure tan, but a combination of 2/3 yellow and 1/3 light brown, which I find gets me a little closer to what I perceive with my eye as a good Stanwell color tone. And we're going to do this a few times with this. I'm going to build up a few layers like this. And then once you have the color kind of burnt in, you wipe it down with some alcohol just to get rid of anything that didn't stick. And that way you're really building up very thin layers of it. It also makes it nice and even. And what I've started doing recently, I'll do my second last, like that. And then I dilute the final coat of the stain very, very thin. And I'll do one more just run with just a little bit of colored alcohol. Do one last run with this just to set the stain. And then we wipe it down. Now this last wipe I don't do as aggressively as the other ones. This is a very light, just a evening it out wipe. There we go. And you can see just a little bit of the contrast coming through there. Okay. Now what I need to do to finish this pipe is, now that we have this all done, the final step is actually not to just go and buff it, because this pipe is not smooth yet. And it actually still needs a bit of polishing. I now need to use my micro mesh pads, and I need to finish polishing it because it's now sitting at roughly a 600 grit finish. Now I need to get it up to about a 4,000 to 6,000 grit before I go and polish it. So I'm going to use these guys. I'm going to polish it up, and then I'm going to buff it.